Hi, I am out here on a beautiful, beautiful night, and I'm just going to turn my phone around so you can see the sunset. I know the phone doesn't do justice, but it is beautiful, and I just wanted to come on here to do a brief video about my morning meditation today. I couldn't sleep, and so I went into the sauna. And when I was in there, I put on a guided meditation for the Akashic records, and I sat there listening, sweating out all the toxins. I'm not doing the big detox right now, but I'm getting my body prepared, and I'm still continually every day doing some detoxing with fruit and herbs, and then the sauna. But I felt like I was in a really relaxed state, a good place, and I listened to the guy, and he was talking about someone or something coming up and meeting me, and just being patient and waiting, and then introducing myself when that individual or that animal or whoever or whatever it is showed up, if they did show up, and then to ask what their name is. And he said, just go with the first name that comes to mind. Don't second guess, just go with that. And the name that came to mind was Jubilee. And it was interesting because then as the person got closer, it was a person, it ended up being me. And it was like my, what they call higher self, or my future self, or however you want to say it. It was me completely awake and conscious, and I was there to guide and help myself in the situation that I'm in now. So I asked questions and just kind of let it go. But later in the day, I was on my phone doing some work and research, and an article came up having to do with an area that I've looked into before, because when all this stuff happened with CPS and the stuff leading up to that with retaliation by a family member and just things not adding up, these accusations are very serious, and basically they were taken as facts. But in my counseling degree, I learned about implantation of memories, false memories, and then you go into repressed memories, and then you go into suggestive questioning and interrogations and interviews, and how that all comes together. And it's interesting because when you have false memories, it's as though you truly believe that they are real. And so you're not, the person who's speaking about it isn't actually lying. They truly believe it, because this is a process that is actually very easy to do to someone. And when there is an agenda, when there's retaliation involved, it's a tool that many have used. There's many innocent people right now sitting in prison who have been accused of something, and there's science, evidence-based science that backs up and proves that this happens a lot. And the justice system, they call it, which is the injustice system, has had many court cases come through that when this is brought up about these false memories, these implanted memories due to suggestive questioning and other techniques, that people can win their cases when this type of evidence is brought forth. But I just want to hit on this because when I was working and doing some stuff with neuroelectronic stimulators, I had a family that talked to me about this, actually a couple of them, who knew of different individuals who were actually going out and preying on people to set them up and to make these allegations, and they were compensated for doing so. Now, I'm not saying that all cases are like that at all, and I'm not saying that when someone says something, we just shouldn't believe what they're saying, but it is important to do thorough research and to make sure that when an anonymous report is made and when someone comes forward with serious allegations, that the entire story is looked at, all sides of every story, and that this is explored, because it is used and it can be so damaging and life-shattering to people. But as I was reading that article that came open, what struck me is that as I got halfway down, they were talking about different politicians who had some false memories, and the Golden Jubilee was right there. It came up out of nowhere. I have not heard of Jubilee or been reading about it or anything anytime, recently. So it's not like something that's right there in front of me. But it struck me because of the name that came up, and I questioned the name when it came. I'm like, Jubilee? Okay, that's a strange name. So it's just extra confirmation that, I am not alone, and that this is going to be a process, and it's important, with my counseling background and everything. It's interesting how everything in our journeys kind of come together to bring us to a place of raising our consciousness and getting on that path, aligning with our true purpose and what we're supposed to be doing, what we were sent here to do. And so I just thought that this was a very exciting experience because of the confirmation, and because, I am seeking truth, and I'm continuing to just explore and examine myself and all areas around me. So, our life has been really flipped upside down, but in that losing of everything, I have hope. There's hope, and there is a transformation in me that is taking place that I love seeing. And so as this all comes together, and I learn more about this, and I put my different types of experiences with the counseling and with what's happened with CPS, and with what I've talked to with other families who are going through similar experiences and hardships and suffering, that I will be able to help others as well as I share my story. So anyways, we aren't alone, and I just wanted to put that out there for you guys and let you know that there are several videos out there that, you do have to make sure that you feel comfortable with a guided meditation, but there's also just healthy frequency type of music that you can put on if you don't want to do a guided meditation, and that you can meditate or pray, or however you can quiet your mind, the conditioned mind and the emotions, and just kind of step back and be present and allow for you to become more aware and attuned and aligned with your soul, And so anyways, it's getting dark. I was hoping I would get this done a little bit sooner so you could still see my face, and but I hope that you guys have a blessed day, and if anyone has more information about this, there's several videos on it, and there's psychologists and psychiatrists who have lots of information and research on this, and I will be linking some of that in the description box, and then I will be back for more. All right, namaste to you all.
So the recipe for creating a false memory was always the same for every single participant. I've gained their trust because I've introduced this event that they know happened, that they have all this vivid memory for quite often. And so now I give positive reinforcement and say, you did such a great job. Let's hope you have as many details for the next event. So the other event which your parents reported happening was when you were 14 years old, you initiated a physical fight and the police called your parents.
When you were 12, you initiated a physical fight and the police called your parents.
You said it happened in Kelowna in the fall. You were with Ryan when it happened, and it was out of character.
What?
Were you close with Connor?
Yeah, he was my best friend.
So what do you remember?
I don't remember. I don't know what you're talking about.
Very odd. I don't remember this taking place at all.
When a person is having trouble remembering, repeatedly thinking about an event will usually lead to a more complete memory for it.
So I'd like to take you mentally back to the scene where the event happened.
And what it does is it puts you back into your 14-year-old you, and it gives you the context for helping you remember. I'd like you to relax, close your eyes, and focus your attention on trying to retrieve this memory.
Okay.
So picture yourself at the age of 14. Imagine what it looks like and feels like to be there.
Try to remember what the weather was like.
Remember, it's fall in Kelowna and you're with Ryan. Try to remember where you had the fight.
Try to remember who you were fighting.
Try to remember what thoughts were running through your head. Try to remember how you were feeling. Saying that this memory retrieval technique works for most people, if they try hard enough, that's a subtle social pressure that actually has quite a profound impact. Where you're saying, if you don't get this memory back, you just didn't try hard enough.
Yeah, I only remember a few possibilities of people I could have picked a fight with.
Who do you think it could have been?
There was a bully.
When was this?
Well, I'm assuming it was in the fall. Right now.
This is the time you think police contact happened? Or what?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
I just felt this uncontrollable rage.
Okay.
Everything just let loose. There was this strength, this energy that I had never felt before.
The cops showed up and we were kind of having maybe a verbal kind of fight, and then it kind of maybe got to a push.
Mm-hmm.
And then at that point there was kind of cops coming.
They had strung themselves out of real pieces of real places and real people, but in a way that just never actually happened.
Forward TV. The world is thinking.
And it was with these concerns that we eventually came up with the idea, let's see if we can get people to develop a completely false childhood event that they were lost in a shopping mall, that they were frightened and crying and lost for an extended time, that they were very upset, but that they were eventually rescued by an elderly person and reunited with their family. Well, that was the plan. How were we going to do it? The way we did it is we recruited our subjects. We told them that we had talked to their mother or father. We actually had, in preparation of these materials, that we found out some things that happened to them when they were children, and that we want to ask them about these experiences. We then told them about some true memories, things the mother and father really said really did happen when the grown-up subject was a child, 5 or 6 years old. And then the made-up experience about being lost in the shopping mall or some other department store, if there were no shopping malls where the person grew up, and so on. And after 3 suggestive interviews with our adult subjects, we found that a quarter of them fell sway to the suggestion and developed all or part of this made-up experience, that developed a memory, at least partially or completely, of being lost in this particular way. People criticized that study after we first publicly reported it and published it. They said, you know, getting lost is so common. Can't you show that you could plan a memory for something that would be a little bit more unusual or bizarre if it actually had happened? And other investigators came along and provided an answer to that concern. Showing, for example, that you could get people to believe that when they were a kid, they went to a family wedding, and there was the table with a punch bowl on it, and they accidentally knocked into the punch bowl and spilled punch all over the parents of the bride. Also, about a quarter of subjects falling sway to that suggestive memory. That work done by a professor at Western Washington University. In another very fine piece of work from University of British Columbia in Canada, the research group convinced their subjects that they had been a victim of a vicious animal attack or a serious indoor or outdoor accident. They were getting more and more sophisticated because they succeeded in planting a complete false memory in 26% of their subjects and a partial false memory in an additional 30% of subjects. These are just a few of the examples where really rich false memories have been planted by something that we sometimes call the lost in the mall technique. We've talked to your parents, we learned these things happen to you. It's a pretty strong form of suggestion, but it's not the only way that people develop false memories. We've now done studies where we use guided imagination, and we can get people to develop false memories. This is the kind of thing that goes on in some psychotherapy circles. You don't remember that you were abused, but you've got all the symptoms. You've got an eating disorder. You're depressed. Everyone I've seen with those symptoms was sexually abused. You can't remember, but you need to remember, the patient is told. And so why don't you just close your eyes and imagine who might have done this to you? How old might you have been? Where might it have happened? We have found that those guided imaginations can make people believe in things that didn't happen.